Welcome to the Wrestling with Goals, the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast, where we delve into the minds of elite athletes and coaches to uncover their secrets behind their success. I'm your host, Sean Garris, former university wrestling coach, D1 wrestler, national champion, Olympic trials medalist, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a three-time world team coach in grappling, and author. Join me as we explore the realms of training, mindset, goal setting, overcoming adversity, and various coaching methodologies in the world of sports.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important announcement.
Looking for top-tier healthcare in the GTA? Look no further than the Core Optimum Health Center. Founded by Dr. Pat Graham, official chiropractor for the Toronto Blue Jays, their clinic offers a wide range of services including physiotherapy, chiropractic care, acupuncture, massage therapy, naturopath, and more, all in a caring professional environment. They also are proud partners with the Shift Concussion Management Program, offering the latest concussion care and online neurocognitive impact testing at their Mississauga location. At the Core, your health is their priority. Visit the Core Optimum Health Center today and experience industry-leading care. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah. Well, and I know. Besides your own kids, you work with youth, right? Yeah. And a lot of your stuff, so you probably see it all the time. Yeah. And it's something that I really believe has to change. Yeah. So. Yeah. And then we also talk about the eyes in the book and the balance system, how you can improve all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we talk a little bit about nutrition. Sleep is a huge thing, making sure you're getting proper sleep. And then in the nutrition component, we talk about a few supplements. And it's interesting. There was early research when I started writing the book on a few of these supplements, and now there's just recent stuff that's come out, so I'm going to have to make some changes. But how creatine is really important. They're finding that can be really beneficial for brain health. Curcumin, which is the active component in the spiced turmeric, it actually crosses a blood-brain barrier and it can be anti-inflammatory up there. And if you have it already in there, like if it's a regular supplementation, just like creatine, it can protect the brain a little bit. And then omega-3 fatty acids. One of the components of the omega-3 fatty acids, it can be protective, but then if there is a incident, it can be really helpful if it's already in there, you know what I mean? But if you're not getting these supplements, then they're not going to be in there. So it's good to have some of these things, beforehand, but they can also be beneficial after. Yeah. So you've, like you said, with some of your research, you've probably found some.
And you hit on exactly. I was researching one thing that I didn't realize the first time, supplementation, because I think, like you said, it's been growing. Right. But creatine, I read a study about football players and how they track the football players and head trauma throughout the season, and the creatine levels dropped throughout the season. Right. And the way to mitigate the issues with that was supplementing prior to getting a concussion throughout the season. But even they said with recovery to take concussion. And I will tell you, taking the recommended dosage that I got for my concussion now, 26 grams a day. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I take pills, like a mitt full of pills. Right. But I can tell you, I did see where it was extremely painful, and I was having a lot of issues. When I started supplementing, I seemed to see a little bit of that go away. But the thing is with the creatine, it doesn't work right away. So you actually have to let it get into the bloodstream. You have
to build it up for sure. Yeah.
And because of the concussion, or the secondary concussion, my head was it was more severe than the first one.
Right. Yeah. And so now we know it's beneficial to be on that stuff on a regular basis anyway. And there's also, besides the head component, I mean, creatine, they're saying now it has some benefits for long-term brain health. So for maybe Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stuff like that, besides all the concussion stuff. Yeah. And then we know omega-3 fatty acids is good for brain health, but it's great for a lot of cardiovascular things in that too. And then the curcumin is generally just a good supplement to be on for a lot of other health benefits besides the brain health too. So why not, especially if you're a young athlete, why not be doing some of that stuff? And it can't hurt you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's with the books. The thing I wanted to do is anything I put in there, I made sure there was nothing that could be taken as a side effect. You know what I mean? Nothing I put in there that could be harmful in any way. Even if it didn't stop a concussion, there was some benefit even to your performance. Like I think of a football player, a hockey player, if they're running around the field with their head forward, they're looking up like this now. So their eyes aren't working properly. They're not seeing the whole field properly. If you're running around the field and you're in proper posture and your upper body straight up and down, you can see the field much better. And your chances of moving in that are much better. So it may even enhance your performance. You know what I mean? So that's sort of the type of stuff I wanted to throw into the book, that it had, besides just the head benefits, it had benefits to performance too. So
what brought you to go into the book realm?
Just seeing the stuff I saw every day in the clinic, and thinking if we change that, or if that would really be helpful to the kid short term and long term. You know what I mean? And so that was okay. That was posture, and then neck strength had always been something that I had always thought it just made sense to me that if your neck was stronger, even from a whiplash perspective, you'd be better off. Yeah. But what they found, I guess, with that, sorry to get off topic a little bit about how I got into it, but what they found with that is the reality is you don't necessarily know when you're going to be hit, so you can't contract that neck, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you do know you're going to be hit, like in rugby, they're now teaching retract the head if you see the hit coming, and you're going to be more stable. Like, why is the hitter rarely injured in a collision that's equal collision, but the hitter's rarely injured compared to the hittee? Because the hitter's prepped and ready, and the hittee is, so he may not know it's coming. So that's why the more prepared you are, but that's why the strength component doesn't make such a big difference, because you're not ready. But that's where this Theo Versteeg stuff, even if you're not ready, you can react with this type of movement that he does with the wild helmet scenario. So I noticed, especially now with coaching and and watching football, it's progressed to the point where they are actually changing the way they tackle. Right. It's to save people from hitting their heads. We watch an NFL game and they're at least calling it now. Is any what looks like intentional head contact, boom, you're
out of the game.
You're out of the game. Yeah. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
So,
they've changed rules, complete rules. I think the NFL's changed their kickoff because of
And like you said, I don't know what it's like with your guy playing football, but tackling, get to head to the side, and it's more of a shoulder contact and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think they're doing the same in rugby, because there's not a helmet, you're not diving in with your head, you know what I mean? Yeah. Although there's probably some whack jobs in rugby that are diving in with their head, but that's,
well, we're going to get letters now.
Yeah, we'll get in trouble with that. We can edit that. But there doesn't seem to be the incidents the way there is in football. Yeah. So, and in hockey, I mean, the game is so fast now, but I think they've done a much better job of teaching kids how to prepare for hits and stuff like that. Although the thing I noticed when I was coaching my guys growing up was they're so well padded and protected that they think they're invincible. So, things that I wouldn't have done when I was playing because the pads were so lousy and everything was, you've got the boards, which are solid, and you've got a defenseman. So I'm not going to go between those two. I'm going to go, it's 85 feet of ice. I'm going to take the 83 feet over here and try and go that way. I would see kids, going through that gap and getting smoked, and I'm thinking, what are you thinking? But they're probably thinking, I've got all this gear on, I'm protected. So I think that's something to look at too. Like even with football, is there too much stuff that you think, I'm going to be fine, but when you
think about the rule change from the NFL, you're on a kickoff, you're running 100 miles an hour fast down there just to cream somebody. Well, they've kind of stopped that now. Right. It's mitigated that speed. It's not as fast.
Well, you had 11 or 12 guys have been on the Canadian American, going a million miles an hour down the field, and they're not just going at the guy that just received the ball. They're running through guys that are trying to block them from, and those blockers are coming this way almost as fast as they're going that way. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the new one they've done, because last year everyone just kicked it out of the end zone. It was boring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the new one, they've sort of set it up that it gives everyone it's almost like a regular play.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of coming from a stop position and then going. Yeah. So I like that. Because at least the kickoffs, you're seeing some runbacks now and stuff like that.
We actually got to see it live with the Buffalo Bills in a preseason game. It was weird to watch because you're not used to it, and I'm sure some fans don't like it.
Right.
But from a doctor's perspective, you're thinking, this is the way to go.
Yeah, and there's so many parents, unfortunately, I'm not going to put my kid in football because of the concerns with that. And same thing with hockey and such. So I think it can be done in such a way, because they're great sports, can be done in a way you make the rule changes and you can, get everyone in there and then train them properly too. Like you said, on technique on how to hit and receive a hit and stuff like that too.
Yeah. Well, wrestlers have always been doing double legs, hits to the side, right? So it's we're safe that way, but the football players are learning that all over again.
Wrestling, I think the one thing that might, and you obviously prepared to tell me better than most, is I would think a lot of neck issues in wrestling. Were there like potential concussions from more whiplash scenarios, or?
You know what? Growing up, there wasn't a lot of. I didn't experience it. I probably did, but it was like we talked earlier. It wasn't recognized by me or a coach or or a physio that was in the room. Now, when I coached at York, it was like we were finding concussions were like popping up like left, right, and center, and it was kind of confusing as a coach at first because coming from the background where you've never seen wrestling, get concussed like that. And it was like weekly we'd probably have one or two people with a concussion. I think there was a couple things. Our wrestling room was pretty small, and we were over capacity. So what I think you were getting wrestlers, falling into each other, which would be the whiplash part. I think more so than anything, you wouldn't have the impact like the impact from a charging like blow like a football. It would be.
What if like a pick up and drop to the mat type thing? Would you get? Because you could whack the back of the head there on. Yeah,
well, I remember that happening many a times. But most of the time wrestlers are trained not to go to their back. So they'll have that. So you'll see some with cat like reflexes. They're going to their back and then they'll turn over, flip over. But if you get caught off balance and then you get taken right to your back, that's the potential is definitely there.
And would you say maybe there was more concussions because they were more recognized, like picked up more a little bit too, because people are more aware of it?
Well, I think that's I mean, I think it's Megan's Law that's come out. Is that right? Parents have training, coaches have training. It's mandatory every year for us. So we're looking at it, and even with football, with the youth football leagues. In the summer, they had baseline training, so it's a lot more respectable. People are aware of it, have the dangers of it, and it's taken pretty seriously. Like you talked a little bit about the return to play process, which our youth are basically involved in. If they get a concussed, they're out of the room, they're off the field. There's usually a physio in the in the football field with us, and when that happens, we as coaches send them over there. They have the final decision. We don't bring them back in. So
you almost have the like they do in the pro. They get sent over to someone to assess them properly and stuff. That's great. That's awesome. I even then, if there's any any potential, I would just say let's finish. You're done for today, and we'll see how you respond in the next day or two.
When it's not my decision as a coach, I should never be my decision, but it used to be as a coach.
And the coach wants to win. The coach wants to have his best players out there. So you okay? Out you go. You know what I mean? So, and that's human nature. You know what I mean? But now you're right. The coaches are trained a little better to. But I think it's great that the trainers have learned so much more compared to. Even in the last 10 years when I was coaching, what we got compared to what they get now is so much better.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about, so we're going back to baseline testing.
Right.
So my daughter was, she's in university now.
Right.
So she went to see I guess they get assessed by a physician when they're there, and they did the eye test with her.
Right.
And they said, have you got a concussion? Or have you had a concussion before? And she said, yeah. You need the vestibular work. You need to do some vestibular work.
Yeah.
So still, even years and years after the concussion she had, there's still some, some residue.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it was never addressed properly to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's what we see when we do the baseline testing. Here, we'll bring a team in, and we'll have, 3 of them doing the computer test, 3 of them doing eye testing, 3 of them do. We try and get a team done within a few hours type thing. And we'll have, someone will be doing some eye testing, and we're like, when you're at school, how do you find reading? Like, when you read something, do you pick it up right away? And they go, well, no, I usually got to go over it a couple times before I get it. And you're like, yeah, because your eyes aren't working together properly. So think of someone going out, on the field, and their eyes aren't working together properly, and they've got someone coming this way, someone coming this way, and normally you'd be able to respond like that. They can't because their eyes aren't working properly. So, but getting back to the point of the reading, like, we would say to kids, like, you got to get this fixed because you're spending, 2 hours on homework that you could have spent an hour on homework, and you're getting totally fatigued. So your brain's already overloaded because of this eye issue. Then you're going on to the ice, you're going on to the field, and who knows what's going to happen. So, and some of the parents it was crazy. We would get responses, not so much about the concussion stuff, but, Alice is doing fantastic in school now. Thank you so much. Because we don't pretend to be, binocular vision specialists. We have, we have our little dog and pony show that we do, and we screen, right? We do some screening. And now we can say, okay, I'd recommend you go see a specialist that handles this type of stuff. So they go and see the specialist, and it's pretty intensive what they get them to do with the exercises. A lot more than we prescribe from the eyes. So we only give so much. The vestibular system we do a lot of work with, but the eye stuff, we tend to farm it out and say, you should go see this person, and they can spend some time with you doing that stuff. So
yeah, I remember, when you talk about the reading stuff, I remember not wanting to read, and then when I started doing all the vestibular work, and then after the first concussion, was able to read no more and faster, and remember things. Whereas before I had the issue with retaining the actual knowledge that I gained from the book. It wasn't really. I'd have to read it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, well, think of see the dog run. Okay. Both eyes should be see the dog run, and you're looking down at the page, and one eye's on see and the other one's on run, and you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So you got to go over it, and finally, okay, all right, see the dog run. But meanwhile, I could have done it like that, and it took me 5 minutes just to figure out see the dog run. So that's a bit of an exaggeration, but that's sort of what it comes down to. So.
Yeah, it's been like I said, it was weird to actually come into a concussion place and think that it's my eyes that are the issue.
Yeah, that's why when especially when kids come in, we bring the parents in. We want to make sure parents are a big part of the process, so they understand what's going on. So like when we're sending exercises home, to work on your eyes or your vestibular system, they're like, they know why they're doing it. You know what I mean? We just had a kid in this morning. Actually, they were just leaving when you were coming in to set up. And this kid got hurt in the spring, and he's been doing some stuff and just not responding at all. So Ryan, Dr. Ryan sat him down and went through everything, and he's like, man, this kid's got, some serious stuff going on with the eyes and the vestibular system. So, he won't be back playing for a little bit, but the mom was in the room. She's got some hope now that, because it's affected him at school and everything too, right? So now she's got some hope that he can get out of this and we can help him out with it. So
and the education of these, the process is needed for the parents, because it is such, in my experience, it's something that I didn't understand.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's why we're so happy that Shift Concussion has developed this app, because the first thing you can do as a parent when you go on the app, or as someone like yourself, you can go through it and see why you're feeling the way you're feeling and get a better understanding. And you feel like once you know why, you'd feel so much better. And that can possibly eliminate, as you mentioned, depression being a big part of, that could eliminate some of that, at least knowing that this is why I'm feeling this way, and as opposed to not, and just letting things churn and becoming more and more down.
Yeah.
So, it's we've had people come in after 3-4 concussions and they're just totally depressed, and again, all we do is we screen, and if we see that, we're like, I think you should probably talk to someone about what's going on with your emotions and stuff like that. So that's a big part of it.
That I think just learning and being educated on what it is now, it's been helping me through this one. Whereas before it was kind of just, I just kind of let it, okay, well, we're going to go to the core, we're going to get it taken care of. Right. Now I understand, like, okay, this is the reason why, this is what's happening. I need to kind of really, I think it can be kind of depressing when you think you're not getting better as fast as you want it to.
Totally. And that's, you've done a lot of your own research, but that's something that we're able to provide now with the app. Because, people come in, we spend, half an hour to an hour with them or whatever, and you're already concussed. Are they going to remember everything we just told them to? You know what I mean? So the app, at least it's there. You can go back and, it backs up what we've been talking about, and you feel better about that. And I love the fact that you've been doing a lot of your own research on it and stuff too. So, for instance, with the nutritional stuff, we haven't pushed that as much here because there hadn't been the, I didn't want to do anything that wasn't sort of fully researched. But now
it's more and more stuff.
It's out there. Like you found it, with the creatine, and then the curcumin and the omega-3s and such is huge. And then one thing that we do recommend not to do is you want to stay away, if you are in that early phase, you want to try and stay away from aspirin, like not aspirin. No one takes aspirin anymore except for heart attack patients. But the Advils, Tylenols, and stuff like that. You don't want to throw anything in there that, you want to let the brain do its thing. Inflammation, to a degree, can be a good thing. It can help speed up the healing process, and that's in that restore phase. And then you want to get the brain activated again and not be blocking it with anything that they might not know if they're getting to that 3 out of 10. You know what I mean? So you want to try and avoid that type of stuff.
And the fish oil is an anti-inflammatory too.
Fish oil and the curcumin are both anti-inflammatories, and they both cross that blood-brain barrier, so they're in there doing their thing. And if you have them in there beforehand, they can kick in right away. Whereas if you're concussed and then you start taking this stuff, as you said with the creatine, it takes a while for it to go to work. So
with an athlete, you're saying supplementation,
right?
Exercises if you can, strengthening the
absolutely
neck. What else do you think?
Posture. If like I said, I put that as my first chapter in the book. If you can improve your posture, I think it's going to make such a difference in the potential for a concussion-causing blow, and the other injuries like we talked about. And even think of it in a secondary factor. If you don't have good posture, your breathing isn't as good as it could be. So end of a game, you're not, your breathing is as good as it could be. You're not breathing as well as efficiently as you should be. Are you going to be a little more fatigued at the end of the game than you know what I mean? So now am I going to be more potential? Is there going to be more potential for there to be an injury because I'm more fatigued? Like that's how far back posture can sort of, I might be pushing the envelope a little bit there, but it's a huge factor. So, sleep is so important, especially for kids. For athletes, you really need that time and proper sleep. There's some sleep studies I bring up in the book, but then some little techniques that can help people sleep better. And then just making sure on your own that your balance is good and you're working on that all the time. The neck strength like we talked about, but doing it in a proper fashion. nutrition, eating properly in general too. You know what I mean? Not just supplementation.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're getting proper balance of nutrients.
A couple of things I was finding with this time around, it was, there's the aphasia is coming in. I'm forgetting things still. Just as we're talking, there's a symptom. That's one of the things that it hasn't left me yet. I'll walk into a room or I'll be talking to somebody and I'll have a thought and I'm ready to actually jump on the thought and then it's gone.
Right.
But I think the worst thing for me has been the sleep, the insomnia, bouts of insomnia, and then the symptoms are worse the next day.
Right.
When I'm sleep well, I'm actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's those days that I don't get the sleep and the bouts of insomnia come to me. It's a horrifying day for me the next day.
Yeah, there are some things like even supplementation you can do, magnesium, things like there's actually things now that are, they don't have any long-term effects, but they help you get to sleep and stay asleep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
One thing I didn't touch on, which it just hit me, hydration. And so important for young athletes to make sure you're hydrating properly. And
that's not properly, by the way. It should be the water, actually. This is the proper.
But it's key because if you keep your hydration levels correct, the what's called the cerebrospinal fluid, which is this fluid that circulates through the spine and brain, it actually creates a cushion for us in the head to help protect the head inside the head. So it's like an inner helmet almost. And so that's why hydrating is so important. And back in the day, you're not getting water till you're an hour into practice and stuff like that. Now it's I tell kids they should be hydrating regularly throughout practice. I tell the coaches too, you got to let your kids get water when they need it. And they should be, even during the day, if you're an elite athlete, during the day you should have a water bottle at your desk and making sure you're hydrating throughout the day too.
Hydrating before competition is key.
Yeah, and water. Forget the sports drinks and definitely forget the energy drinks, especially for kids. Yeah, because a lot of stuff they put in there, like caffeine, and that actually it's a diuretic, so it actually you have a harder time staying hydrated. So you're not talking out of your ass either, because the other thing too that we haven't mentioned is that you've been working with the sports organization for a long time now, the Toronto Blue Jays. Yes. So actually, this is I've just retired from hands-on practice as of April, but so Doc Ryan took over this year for the season. But 32 years I was with the Jays, and I've seen a lot of changes in concussion management and just injury management since I started back then too. So it was a fun ride, and I did miss it this year, but it opened up a lot more time to golf. So that was that was a bonus, for sure.
You hockey players in your golf. Still got to swing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Dr. Pat, I want to thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming on the podcast and educating our guests about concussions. And thank you so much for helping me and still helping me get through this damn thing.
We'll make sure we get you through it. But I was so looking forward to today because I've seen you've shown me some of the stuff you're doing with the podcast, and I think it's fantastic. So thank you for having me on today.
I hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment in the section below. Your feedback fuels our journey to bring you more valuable content and stories from the realm of sports. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, believing in yourself, and achieving greatness. Thank you for listening.